Welcome back, guys. This is Automotive Anonymous. That is number 309 of the 500 2018 Subaru WRX STI Type RAs, or the record attempt ever made. That's a mouthful. What else is a mouthful, or a lot to comprehend, is why did this STI cost 12 grand more than a base STI in 2018? What goodies is it hiding? And what dirty little secret does Subaru have regarding this car and the STI platform in general that I'm gonna expose for you today? We're gonna do a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 with the GPS, and then final thoughts to help you decide, is the Type RA worth your time and money, or do you leave it at the lot and consider a different turbo 4-banger? Let's dive right into this review. And big thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow their really rare STI for the day. I'll link it below in the description if you're interested. The STI nameplate first came out in '94, but we didn't get it in the States until 2002 at the Subaru WRX Bug-Eye, which shared a very similar EJ motor to this. So a lot of people in the car enthusiast realm are well aware of the STI, but if you are not, you should know that this started as a trim level of the Subaru Impreza, but in 2015, the Subaru Impreza had a divorce from its WRX and STI trim levels. These became their own body style, nicknamed the VA as their chassis code would show, and they're pretty cool, allowing us to have more options and more trim levels of the STI and WRX. Things like the base, the premium, the limited, or special editions like this. Back in 2018, if you had 50 grand to buy the Type RA, you just bought the world's most expensive MSRP Subaru. These are about 12 grand more than the regular base model STI, but with that price tag comes some goodies such as the revised fascia, performance badging, bigger Brembo brakes, more interior refinements, and some nicer trim pieces. You also have an electronically controlled limited slip diff, which we'll talk about and expound on in just a minute. And then the 6-speed manual transmission was revised with a shorter third gear ratio and a short throw shifter. It also has new inverted Bilstein front struts and other suspension tweaks. And then you have BBS Gold wheels, which look fantastic. And then this came factory with a 245/35/19 Yokohama tire. That's actually quite a few tweaks, but for 12 grand, is it worth it? Comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Otherwise, these are about 5 feet tall, 6 feet wide. They have 4.9 inches of ground clearance. They're 15 feet long. The wheelbase is 8.6 feet, and it weighs 3,400 pounds, which is about 50 pounds less than the standard STI because of all those extra goodies. Subaru honestly kind of has a sick and twisted sense of humor, but if you work in the medical field like I do, you might actually enjoy it. Obviously, STI stands for something else in the medical world than the car world, but to expound on that further, the center display of the Type RA actually says C. diff just above auto, which I'm assuming they thought C. diff was an autoimmune disease. In fact, it's an infection, but if you actually have Clostridium difficile, you really need to talk to your primary care practitioner and get that addressed. Anyways, I digress. If you like the STI, if you like stray dogs, give this video a thumbs up. I guess it's camera shy. The gas tank's located on the passenger side. It's a 15.9 gallon tank, and STIs aren't known for good gas mileage. This is actually rated for 16 city, 22 highway, so in a full tank, you're gonna be lucky to get 350 miles out of it if you're conservative. Big STI listed calipers, but they're actually Brembos, and then you have drilled 13.4 inch front rotors and 12.8 inch on the back. It's finally time to show you the inside. You should know you have a proximity key, so leave that in your pocket, and you can lock and unlock the vehicle here. The door panel honestly looks really nice, but you can tell that there are some cheaper base WRX materials on the top. Then you have Alcantara with the red Hobby Lobby stitching on the door card and the armrest. Alcantara is really soft, but it doesn't age very well. It seems to get kind of rubbed, and you can tell where it's faded a little bit. Otherwise, piano black around the buttons, bottle holder, some snacks, I wish that was longer, and then an unnamed speaker, but the premium sound system does actually sound pretty good. Subaru on the door sill, rubberized mats, aluminum pedals, fuse box, hood release, traction control, trunk release, lighting for the dashboard, trim piece, ventilation, and your lighting stock. Otherwise, you have really nice Recaro, red and black, heated seats. Sitting inside, the Type RA is honestly a pretty cool place to be, but between the dark tint, the windscreen shade, it honestly feels really dark with all these other black accents. Otherwise, it's comfortable. The armrest width is fine. It fires right up with the push button start. Needles dance. I like that they give you a red start STI button. And overall, it's pretty cool. Box of rumbles you can hear here. The horn sounds decent. You have all of your audio controls on the left and voice controls, your infotainment controls to go through some of the center options. Regular cruise control on the right. Ventilation up top. You have your second screen. Basic 7-inch screen. Backup camera can be seen here. Trajectory lines do not move when you turn the wheel. And then physical buttons for HVAC. You have a 12 volt, some storage. STI on more black piano trim. And then the shifter honestly feels really good. You can see number 305 out of the 500. You have all of your sport and intelligent modes, your C diff control, which again, pretty funny. You can either be positive or negative for C diff in the real medical world. Oh, Subaru, you're too funny. Otherwise, you have a concealer for your cup holders. A couple more USBs, aux, 12 volt, small storage down there because the transmission, you know, kind of protrudes into the cabin, and then your heated seats. Otherwise, you have auto dimming mirrors, but no blind spot monitoring on this one. And then no sunroof because you have the carbon fiber. Let's turn it off and hop in the back. The back door panel follows the same theme and design language. Nothing new back here. Small bottle holder, small storage for snacks, but at least you get something. Otherwise, the 60-40 split on these seats look really good. The stitching and the accents are fantastic. And then at 5'11", I actually sit pretty cozy back here. I have a couple inches in front of my knees. I have a map pocket so I can be a backseat driver, tell them where to chauffeur me. And then I have some cup holders, but no plugins, no HVAC, nothing like that. And then no center armrest in the third seat. Let's hop around the back, show you the trunk. 4 ways to get to the trunk. You can either climb through the back seats, you can push the button on the remote, which is what I'll do. There's also a button underneath the Subaru emblem, or the button on the left of the dashboard. So, non-power lift, but the shocks do quite a bit to help. And then you have 12 cubic feet back here with no extra spare tire, but you do have the tools underneath the floor mat. The functional arrow behind the rear driver and passenger side rear tire looks really good, although I do wish they gave this more of a wider fender approach, like the early teen WRXs. Otherwise, if you're gonna be in the back passenger side, door panel basically looks identical. You still have a map pocket, and then this is the 60 split. And riding shotgun, you still have proximity key features to lock and unlock. The door panel looks very similar to the driver's side, minus a few extra controls. Bigger door panel, pocket, but it could be much bigger still. STI on the door sill, manually adjusted seats, Recaro, STI in the headrest, looks really good. And then a locking glove box. That's fairly well sized for this class of vehicle. But I know what you guys are waiting for. You want to see under the hood. You want to see the EJ25. So we're going to pop the hood and show you that next. Under the hood, you have the legendary, but also the aging EJ25, as the engine is called. It makes 5 horsepower more than the non-RA STI models. So this one makes 310 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 290 pound-feet of the good twisty stuff at 4,000 RPM. Otherwise, you can see all the reservoirs are up top, easy to find, easy to identify. The batteries on the driver's side, the alternators are up top, the serpentine belt. Everything's right where you want it to be. Most of those items would be easy to change, except for things like the spark plugs or other things that are down closer to the bottom of the block. Remember, it's a flat 4 turbo boxer with unequal length headers, so it sounds amazing. But anyways, let's drop the hood, take it for a drive. It's time to time travel and teleport to one of my favorite roads to see how well the RA handles the street. Initial driving impressions of the Type RA is that it feels really good. It's not very fast by modern day sports car standards, but it feels really well balanced. There's a little bit of a dead feel in the steering before it very sharply turns in and has a good amount of weight to it. The short throw shifter reminds me of my Miata, which is much better than the new VB WRX shifters, unless you go short throw on those. And overall, it feels really cool in here. There's a lot of nice materials, but then you are reminded of the cheaper materials from the base WRX that this is a part of. Overall though, it handles well on the road, especially going down a country road like this. The suspension is pretty stiff, but it's forgiving in my opinion. I've driven stiffer cars, so for me it doesn't bother me too much. Visibility is really good, as you'd expect in a 5-seater family sedan that you can take to the track, that you can enjoy some 13-inch front Brembo brakes and over 300 horsepower, and turbo spool and boxer rumble. There's a lot of really cool things when you go STI Type RA. This one's number 309 of the 500. In the color black, you can see the hood bulge. Looks pretty good. Shifter's really easy to use, and I really like all the red accents in here between the Recaro seats, the stitching, the shifter ball, things like that. At about 15 feet long and 3,400 pounds, it feels like there's a little bit of weight to it. Part of that, I think, comes from the steering feel. But honestly, it's not bad. It would be cool if this was a couple hundred pounds lighter. I think the performance would go further if it was. But overall, it's really good. It's a pretty nice place to be. A lot of black interior accents, and without that sunroof, because it has the carbon fiber roof, means it is pretty dark in here, especially when you add in the tint strip on the windshield. But overall, it's really cool. I like it. I like this generation of STI, and I think a lot of us miss it because it's no longer available. Maybe Subaru will bring back the STI nameplate at some point down the road, but for now, we have to do without. The brakes work really well. There's not much of a squishy portion before it gets right to engagement. So they are pretty confidence inspiring. Boxer rumble sounds fantastic. Does feel very old school turbo with the EJ25. Not a ton of power until you hit about 4,000 RPM, and then it really kicks in quite a bit more. And then when you're going 60 on the highway in 6th gear, you can hear a little bit of a rumble, but not too bad. It's honestly pretty good. I'm really having a lot of fun in here. This is very much an enthusiast vehicle. Even though this isn't the fastest turbo 4-door, 4-banger on the market, or what used to be on the market, it handles really well, and I'm having a good time behind the wheel. It feels very well set up for a track car to be an enthusiast car, and to be one that will probably be very reputable, very desirable for a lot of years to come, especially if the STI nameplate doesn't come back. But I've rambled on long enough. Let's get to our private road, do a 0 to 60, and see what it can do. 0 to 60 in the Type RA. We have it in Sport Sharp. Traction control's off. I'll do a light launch because it's not my car. We're not going to do a red line launch. Keep in mind, density altitude's over 6,000 feet today, so even though it's turboed, it's compressing less oxygen-dense air, and we're still down in power, over 10% on my private road. Let's see what it can do. I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60, and then I'll post a GPS graph to follow. Here we go. And true 0 to 60 came in at 6.80 seconds. Not bad given our elements, and that's the true time. Here's that graph, and then our final thoughts. My final thoughts of the limited production 2018 Subaru WRX STI Type RA, a record attempt, is that is seriously a mouthful. But what else is a mouthful is naming off all the goodies and the bits that this car has. I think this is absolutely just about the top enthusiast trim level of the STI that you can get with the BBS gold wheels. That's a staple on Subarus, especially the Rally Blue, old WRX rally cars of the day. The giant 13.4-inch front Brembo brakes and rotors, the big carbon fiber STI name-plated wing, the roof, all the extra aero, the rumble from the Boxer unequal length header exhaust. There's seriously a lot of good stuff to love about this car, and even though you just saw it's not the fastest turbo 4-banger I've ever driven, it feels really good. The steering is heavy, the suspension is tight. It feels like there are a lot of upscale materials inside, despite overall it being an FA Subaru WRX as the base model, and I really like it. If you like this video, if you like my style, if you want to see more cool stuff, like my video. It really helps it to get shared. It helps my channel to grow so I can show you more cool things. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you're interested in this specific vehicle, number 309 of the 500, check out Twin Falls Subaru. They're fantastic people to work with, and I'll link this one below. Otherwise, you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.